Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for our first 2026 rookie mock draft. We are so thrilled to be doing this. Make sure you drop a like to enjoy the rookie content. Make sure you're also subscribed. If you play Dynasty, if you're going to be drafting these rookies, there's no better place to be than right on this channel for rookie content, because we're essentially playing Devy right now with as much as we're like scouting these guys early. Shout out to Ryan. He's been in the lab. We've got a bunch of new data on these guys, and we're going to draft them. We're going to take turns. I'm going to start. And still pretty obvious here who the 101 is for this Dynasty rookie season. It's Jeremiah Love, running back out of Notre Dame. This guy is 6 foot, 215 pounds. He has workhorse size. He gets workhorse bell cow volume in college and does extremely well with it. He is the best running back, in my opinion, in college football right now. So far in 2025, and this is through, I think they've played 6 games now. 100 carries, 530 yards, so he's averaging just under 100 yards per game. 14 receptions for 160 yards as well, so you're encouraged by that. But the dude can straight up do everything. Again, to have the athletic profile that he has at the size that he has is fantastic. And when you're looking at his bakery score, we talked about this again, and people are like, whoa, hold on. You're telling me Jeremiah Love, I just went out and drafted Ashton Genty and got him, and he was this good, and you're telling me there's another one that's this good? I mean, I didn't create these guys. Like these dudes are just popping up right now. And the fact of the matter is, right now, again in the bakery, in that coveted purple tier, he's the 3rd overall running back ever in the bakery right now with his current projections on how his stats are so far. Again, keep in mind with the bakery scores. By the way, real quick, the bakery will be available to you on the site very soon. Just give us a week or two and we'll have it up for you. But right now with the bakery scores, keep in mind it's projected draft capital, which we have, a large sample of mocks we've been using, and it's also, their season statistics so far extrapolated to a full season. With Love, he'd be 3rd overall in the bakery behind Bijan and Todd Gurley as the 3rd overall ranked running back the bakery has seen. Ashton Genty right next to him at 4th. Okay, so these guys are, from a prospect strength standpoint, are right there. But in the last, 4 years, you've had Bijan in 2023 and then Genty in 25 and Jeremiah Love in 2026. Yes, they are 3 of the best running back prospects we've seen in the last 10 years. And so he's that good. He is going to be that good for a fantasy team. And you've seen with Bijan and Ashton Genty's values and Jahmyr Gibbs, who's also in this tier recently, I mean, these guys just don't miss from a fantasy perspective. They almost always hit, and they almost always maintain elite fantasy football value. He's looking like the 101, so he's going to be my locked-in 101 for this mock especially.
This is kind of the range where we try to go with the guarantees, the guys that we are pretty confident are going to be top 6 picks, barring injury or any sort of crazy unprecedented fall-off. And I think you really have 2 wide receivers in this range that are essentially guarantees, locks to get first-round draft capital, and I'm going to take the most productive one right now in college football. That's Mekhi Lemon out of USC.
You suck, dude.
So Mekhi Lemon has been one of the biggest wide receiver names in college football because of his production and how good he has looked at USC this season. He was projected in the offseason to be like one of those big risers this year in 2025. And he's definitely lived up to the hype. I mean, you just saw that Michigan game where he had like 93 yards a tud, 11 receptions the week before against Illinois. Those are 2 top 25 opponents, and he has just absolutely destroyed everyone that he's gone up against. I know Mekhi Lemon, I'll give Avery his credit. Like Mekhi Lemon is my guy for him. He absolutely loves him. He's probably going to be your wide receiver one, I would assume. When you're talking about the bakery
1A, 1B
analytical tiers right now, you're probably looking at 1A, 1B right now for Lemon and Tyson, who we'll talk about as well. But I mean, USC, Big Ten football, big time competition at every single level. I mean, an elite earner is kind of his archetype right now as a wide receiver. He's a target hog. He's got a good build to be a number 1 wide receiver in any offense at the NFL level, and I would expect him to solidify like pretty high-end, high-level first-round draft capital, like not just lower range, like you're probably talking. I would hope and I would expect at this point probably like a top 16 pick.
Yeah, I chose 3 to take Mekhi Lemon, and so I'm mad. But realistically, like Jordan Tyson is just as good a prospect as Mekhi Lemon is from an analytics standpoint. Yeah. Fact of the matter is, in the bakery right now with their current statistics in 2025, you give both of them first-round draft capital, and they're both in that blue tier, which is the tier below the purple tier. So we don't have a Marvin Harrison Jr. level prospect in this class. But in 2025, you'll remember we had nobody in the blue tier. So both of these guys would have been the wide receiver 1 in last year's class.
This is a very good wide receiver class.
It is a very good wide receiver class. And right now, it just depends on how the draft capital is going to shake out. But you have 3 guys in the green tier or higher so far. And again, the 2 guys that stand alone pretty much back to back are Mekhi Lemon and Jordan Tyson. So I'll just take whichever one's left, and I'll take Jordan Tyson. And I'm not going to be upset about it as well. Like Jordan Tyson's a plenty good wide receiver. He's more of a hybrid wide receiver, definitely an elite separator at the college level. And so we're excited about that. When you're looking at his production profile so far this year, they have also played in 6 games, 47 receptions for 523 yards and 7 touchdowns. He has been extremely productive, again, playing on an Arizona State team that last year made it to the college football playoff. They have a great coach and a great quarterback, and Jordan Tyson has been producing in that situation. But I think realistically, Jordan Tyson could be the wide receiver 1 in this class still. But I'm so high on Lemon. I've got to have him at the very least 1A and 1B. But I think when you're looking at these top 3 picks in dynasty drafts, man, you have a top 3 pick. You are going to be people have talked about how bad this class is. I mean, the top 3 in this class are fine. They are just freaking fine. Again, like the top 3 in last year's class, you'll remember Marion Hampton was going there, and then so was Ted McMillan or Travis Hunter. These guys are better wide receiver prospects than those guys. So we're looking at the top of these drafts where you have Jeremiah Love stacking up against Genty just fine analytically, and these 2 wide receivers stacking up against last year's wide receiver class better. Okay, we're 3 picks through this draft, and we're actually looking pretty good from a dynasty perspective. So with Tyson, I think right now he's my clear 103, and then we're gonna have to get into it's gonna get crazy here for a minute. Mm-hmm. But right now the top 3 picks in dynasty, if you have them, they look really good from a rookie prospect perspective. Again, never rule out a class too early. There are good wide receivers in this class, as we're gonna get to. If you'd like us to take a look at your team and you'd like to come join the community so you have access to the bakery here in a week or 2 when we post it on the site, and so you have access to our rookie draft guide when we release it, you can get a team blueprint from Nathan and I. We do all of these personally. We can look at your team. If you're a rebuild, we can tell you, hey, you should go get more picks or less picks, or you should sell this pick if you're a contender. We can give you trade targets. We give you your team archetype, 3-year outlook. It's a full comprehensive breakdown of your dynasty team. And it comes free with a membership where basically you get all of our dynasty tools, and you get our Discord, our community, and you get to come join the fun over on the Discord as well. And the blueprint really is kind of the cherry on top, but it's a full in-depth team review process that doesn't end with your first review. You get infinite blueprint as well, where you get weekly and monthly blueprints as well for the team that you sign up for. So flockfantasy.com/domain. Make sure you use code domain. It's the annual Mother Flocker tier with code domain that unlocks all of our stuff, all of our exclusives. And again, we will have the bakery posted on the site here in just a few short weeks, maybe 1 or 2 weeks. I would say it's going to be pretty quick here, but I'll let you take the 104. You better freaking not snipe me here too.
I don't know who you're planning on taking here, but I'm going to go ahead and take Jonah Coleman. I really like his potential outlook here. I mean, right now he's trending to be in that green tier, which is a really solid tier in terms of hit levels for running backs. We're expecting him to be a day 2 pick in the NFL draft. And I do think that this ended up being good for him long-term to stay an extra year at Washington. What I really like about Coleman this season especially is showcasing a really nice tick up in receiving usage and receiving efficiency, 12.1 yards per reception. He has showcased that efficiency in the past, but not with this volume. I mean, the most receptions that you've ever seen for Coleman over the course of an entire season was back in 2023 at Arizona, where he had 25 receptions for 11.3 yards per catch. And now this year he's already at 20 receptions. So you're probably going to see him get up to like 40 receptions this year, which is really good usage. And obviously the volume there as a bell cow has been there, and he's had very productive weeks this season. And even at the Big Ten level, going up against Ohio State a few weeks ago, he had like 5.5 yards per carry, which is really nice to see him go up against one of the best teams in college football and look that solid. So I think with Jonah Coleman, with the bakery scores right now, he's back-to-back there with Achane, Walker, Jacobs, Travion Henderson, Derrick Henry, Caleb Johnson, ironically. But again, one red flag with Caleb Johnson, which as big of a fan as we were of Caleb Johnson, the biggest concern that we had about him was, is he going to have any receiving capabilities whatsoever? And he did have like a really slow 40 time at the combine as well. I think Jonah Coleman is just more explosive. I think he's got more speed, and I think if he can maintain this production throughout the course of the rest of the season, he'll kind of solidify himself in that range analytically.
All right, my pick was going to be Denzel Boston, so I'm going to take him here. He's the clear wide receiver.
It's the other Washington guy
right now. With 2 Washington guys in a row here, and Washington's good this this year, by the way. They're a good football team. They're definitely they're not getting all the public praise that they did when Kalen DeBoer was the coach there, but they're a good football team with NFL talent. And Boston's the only guy in the greens here right now in our bakery in terms of wide receivers and their rankings. Right now, it's kind of a gap between him, Carnell Tate, Jacoby Lane. Jacoby Lane, if you give him first round draft capital, which maybe Jacoby Lane sneaks in the first, he's playing with Mekhi Lemon, obviously, so that's going to boost his score a little bit. But he also gets in the greens here. But right now, it's Denzel Boston and then kind of the field. And so with Boston, I mean, we're talking about his type of build. We have him as a wide, an out wide alignment type guy. Build as a deep threat. He's an elite separator as well. But I just want to look at that type of build historically in the bakery and see what kind of results we get. Because the thing with Denzel Boston, I think he's plenty talented. But realistically, when you're looking at guys recently who have been out wide receivers versus guys who have been kind of catch everything in the middle of the field receivers, can line up outside, can line up in the slot type receivers. When you're looking at those type of receivers, they have just translated quicker to the NFL. Now, when you're looking at guys who have had the same type of build that Denzel Boston has, the one guy that has also been in the greens here for this type of receiver is Jameson Williams in 2022. Both of them we had as wide alignment guys, both deep threats, both elite separators. And the size, Denzel Boston is a little bit bigger than Jameson Williams. He's about 2 inches taller and about 20 pounds heavier. The big difference here is Denzel Boston right now, we at least project to run in the 4.4s, and Jameson Williams obviously ran in the 4.25s. So it's not the same type of receiver, and part of what makes JMO so dangerous is the fact that he fell into a perfect situation in Detroit, and also the speed as well. And the other guys here, though, that have this type of build, because it's very unique for Boston in terms of how he evaluates as a prospect. Brashad Perryman, Jacoby Lane, Alec Pierce, Devin Smith. Last year, you saw Dante Thornton. Adonai Mitchell was this type of build as well, but he's kind of a better Adonai Mitchell in my opinion. So, look, and that could all change. That's just where he grades in the bakery right now, according to his alignment data, according to his separation data, and things like that. And realistically, I think you can't fade him in terms of how good of a prospect he actually is. And he is my clear wide receiver 3 in this class right now. And he's going to be a first-round selection in the NFL draft, in my opinion. If he goes to the right situation, he could be extremely dangerous from a fantasy perspective. So I'll take him here at the 105.
Give me that Ohio State wide receiver. Give me Carnell Tate.
Yeah.
I think that Carnell Tate can only be left on the board for so long, not just in our mock draft, but in the NFL draft as well. He's had a very, very solid season to date. He's had a couple of 100-plus receiving yard games. His volume kind of all over the place. Again, he's what I really like about him is his consistent ability to have big play upside, but also command high amounts of target volume any given week. And when you're looking at his bakery score, he is in that yellow tier, which is a little more volatile in terms of like hit rates. But you've seen plenty of guys in this range be very, very successful long term. And again, time will tell if he can kind of find himself in that green tier. I still think that he has the upside and the ability production wise to get himself into that green tier analytically. I still do think it is possible because his wide receiver grade is pretty dang close to where Boston's is. So he could definitely get up there over the course of this entire year. He's more of like a prototypical X type of wide receiver. So he'll line up on the outside. He's got some big playability. Again, he can bring down contested catches, etc. He's definitely a bigger body wide receiver. So expect him to be kind of a first round buzz type of option. You're kind of looking at Carnell Tate very similar to Igbuka, not talent wise, but just in the shadow of Jeremiah Smith because of all the hype that he's getting long term. Igbuka was kind of in the shadow of everybody else in that offense. Marvin Harrison Jr., JSN, Jeremiah Smith as well for him. So don't discount the number 2 in that offense just because he's the number 2. He's still a very solid talent and does have first-round draft capital upside.
So we've gone now 6 picks, and we haven't even talked about the quarterback class. And the fact of the matter is, this isn't a pushover quarterback class.
It is done.
Ryan has been, kind of tweaking this QB bakery that he came up with. And last year you saw 2 guys, Jackson Dart and Cam Ward, green tier above. This year you already see 3 guys. I think it's a deeper quarterback class than it is. It's obviously not going to be anywhere near the 2024 class where you had Daniels, Williams, and May, all as really good analytical prospects. But there are a number of guys you could take here. Right now, the odds-on favorite to be the 101 in the NFL draft is Fernando Mendoza. Lenore Sellers probably has more rushing upside there. Dante Moore, probably the same thing. John Mateer, actually, if you give him first-round draft capital in the bakery, interestingly enough, he becomes the running back 1 in this class. And the same thing with Dante Moore, actually. Dante Moore jumps up to QB1 over him. So it's all going to depend on where these guys get drafted. Last year on our first mock, we took too many QBs, and so that's why we've been shying away from them. And so, you have to decide between the guy with maybe rushing upside, the guy who has the best analytical profile, the guy that might go 101. Who do you think I'm going to take?
Take your guy.
Who do you think I'm going to take?
Take him.
The best college football team in America, mind you. Everybody, Oregon's going to kill him. Oregon's going to kill him. If you guys watched Indiana, and part of the reason IU is so darn good is because Fernando Mendoza can absolutely throw the freaking football. And it's not necessarily just his traits. Like, traits and QBs are great. But from a mental standpoint, Fernando Mendoza is rock solid. From a poise standpoint, he's rock solid. From making throws in the pocket under pressure with guys in his face, he is rock solid. I mean, the dude, I know I just said rock solid a bunch of times, and it may sound a little bit sus, but honestly, watching IU this year, that's kind of how I felt. It's been really good. It's been an out-of-body experience for me. And you just see a lot of intangibles with Fernando Mendoza that suggest that he could be somebody to succeed at the next level. Now, again, I think realistically you could take Mendoza, Sellers, Dante Moore, John Mateer, any of these guys at this spot in the draft where there's probably going to be a quarterback in Superflex leagues. But I'm an IU fan, and shamelessly, I think he's going to be the 101. I really do. I don't know if that means he's going to be the best fantasy quarterback, though. I do think he'll struggle for a couple of reasons. Number one, I think he's going to go to the Jets, and the Jets are the legit worst team I've ever seen in my life.
At least he'll have Garrett Wilson.
He'll have Garrett Wilson there, and it'll be good for Wilson. Number two, IU runs a ton of RPO. And RPO-style quarterbacks in college right now that run so much of that and come into the NFL, there's a transition period there. And so while I believe in Mendoza because he's extremely intelligent and you know he's really good at a lot of things, we haven't really seen him in a ton of situations this year at IU go through all of his reads and make the right read and make the right play because he hasn't really had to. A lot of it is RPO stuff. And so you're really only making the one read and you're not necessarily identifying coverages. You're identifying, hey, what's this guy doing? What's my read here? Do I hand it off or do I get it to the Surratt on the quick slant?
But the good thing is if your one read is Garrett Wilson and you can get the ball to your one read, which is Garrett Wilson, I mean, he could do that better than Justin Fields can.
He absolutely could.
He does a really good job at just feeding the crap out of the best weapons in his offense.
So I'm not going to try to guess who the top quarterback's going to be in this class, who's going to go 101, who's going to be drafted first in fantasy football. But I know there's a big chunk of guys right now. And Mendoza is easily my favorite because I'm a homer and I love him. And I also do think at the end of the day, Mendoza will go in the first of Dynasty startup drafts just because I do think he's a top 5 pick locked.
Yeah, I almost took Jacoby Lane instead of Carnell Tate at the 106. I'm going to take Jacoby Lane here. A lot of good stuff out of USC this year, and it has not just been Makai Lemon. It's also been Jacoby Lane. Yep. As the number 2 there, he's definitely made his own mark in that offense, being very productive in his own right. Very, very explosive. He had like a 3 reception, 115-yard game against Purdue. And again, against Illinois, Michigan as a number 2 there. He had a touchdown. He's had a good amount of production this season as well. So with Jacoby Lane, I do fear him being more of like a deep threat kind of guy that has big play upside, but maybe isn't going to command a ton of crazy volume at the NFL level. That's always very possible. But again, when you're looking at his analytical tier in the bakery, he's right there back to back with Carnell Tate, and he's not necessarily known to be like a poor separator. In terms of build, he is more of like a deep threat wide receiver type. But again, time will tell what his landing spot will be. We've seen guys that we've kind of labeled as like deep threat type of wide receivers who go into a situation that is very, very friendly for them, very, very positive, and they end up being ultra productive. So we'll see what his landing spot ends up being, what his true draft capital will end up being. But again, with second round draft capital in the yellow tier there, if you give him first round draft capital, if he falls into the first round, not falls into, but finds himself in the first round, he's in that green tier with Denzel Boston. So analytically, the bakery absolutely loves him, and I like him as well.
There's a lot of other wide receivers you could start getting into now because I think this wide receiver class does have the potential to have some depth this year. But of the guys left, I think my favorites here, I think Jeremy Bernard has to be the next guy that I go with. The problem with Jeremy Bernard right now is, you know, he is one of those hybrid prototypical Z wide receivers, very similar to Makai Lemon. I would say Makai Lemon's more of a slot heavy guy from an alignment standpoint right now in college. But the problem with Bernard is you give him first round draft capital and he's in the yellow tier. Like his analytical profile is not good. Part of that is because he's a senior though. Like if you're looking realistically at where he's being docked, I think a lot of it is going to be that late breakout for Jeremy Bernard and staying an extra year and all that, which we're actually going to wait against that. Ryan is talking about tweaking that a little bit. And so maybe that bumps him up a little bit. But Jeremy Bernard right now, I mean, this is an Alabama team. He's playing with Ty Simpson. And since week 1, obviously week 1 was very tough for the Alabama Crimson Tide. Since then, they've been pretty good. And Jeremy Jeremy Bernard's been a big part of that. 412 yards this year so far in 6 games. Only 28 receptions, but he does have 5 touchdowns as well, and he's had some pretty good individual performances. He's just kind of steady. When you're looking at what he did against Mizzou, he only had 3 receptions for 20 yards, so a little bit disappointing. But against Vanderbilt, the week before, 5 receptions for 82 yards and a touchdown. Against Georgia, 5 receptions for 35 yards and a touchdown. Against Wisconsin, four receptions for 62 yards and a touchdown. And so he's playing on a top 10 offense, or a top 10 team in college football right now. He's obviously, again, senior leader there, but he's the wide receiver 1 there for all intents and purposes, of course, besides Ryan Williams. I know that, but Ryan Williams is next year. We'll get there. Trust me. I know what his Baker score is, and you're going to flip your lid. But believe it or not, and I don't know how many games how has Ryan Williams missed. He missed at least 2, right? So Ryan Williams has missed 2 games, but Jeremy Bernard, even on a per-game basis, has actually held his own against Ryan Williams in that offense. And that's a great sign. When you have an elite, one of the best players in college football next to you, and even in the games where he's playing, you're seeing him produce, Jeremy Bernard. That's a good sign. Him playing alongside NFL talent and still being productive is a very good sign, and that's ultimately the reason I'll take him here. Again, it's not great in terms of the analytical profile, but I think it has the opportunity to get better, and I think there's a host of wide receivers you could take here as we get later into this draft, but he's definitely somebody you're going to want to keep an eye on. I'm going to take him with my 109 pick here.
I'll go ahead and take another QB in the greens here. Lenore Sellers is someone that's going to be very, very polarizing this season if he does declare. And that is going to be a big if. Like, I'll just fully admit here, I could talk about Lenore Sellers now, and he may not even be in our mocks in the coming months if he decides to go back, whether he goes to South Carolina or transfers. I think there are a lot more problems in South Carolina that are not named Lenore Sellers. The stats and the production for Lenore Sellers hasn't been anything crazy this season, but the traits are there, the talent is there. In my opinion, the more consistent accuracy than like someone who was like an Anthony Richardson a couple of years ago, who was drafted just based off of traits and never had like elite level production at Florida. Like, this is the same type of sort of situation for Lenore Sellers, where I think that just off of traits and mechanics and like the consistency that he's shown alone in terms of like accuracy, I think he could declare as early as this season. Are there things that he could work on? Yes, there are things that he could work on. He's a redshirt sophomore. He could absolutely go back to college, maybe even go to a better situation for him in his development and boost his draft stock even more. But I'm not so sure that he wouldn't be a guy that someone would take a top 10 shot on in the NFL draft if he were to just declare this year. Some people will say that he's just going to be a Jalen Milroe and he's going to fall in the draft if he does declare. And some are going to say, well, he's a better version of Anthony Richardson. I would err more on the side of he's a better version of Anthony Richardson. I think he's shown better flashes at the college level than AR did. But that's just my opinion. With the rushing upside, the athletic capability that he has, I think you can't ignore him in the first round, which is why we're going to go ahead and take a shot on him here in this mock, because we can.
Again, I think there's a lot of guys here that you could take, but a guy that I think is pretty safe, that I think is going to go in the first round, is Kenyon Sadiq from Oregon.
Yep,
I think
100% agree.
I think that
Sadiq.
There's a lot of different wide receivers and running backs you could go with here, but with Sadiq, the biggest knock on Sadiq, similar to how I just talked about with wide receiver Jeremy Bernard from Alabama, is his analytical profile, because the usage for Sadiq is not probably where it should be. With that being said, you're still seeing NFL mocks that are putting him in the mid-first round. And I think athletically, like, you're looking at, he's 6'3", 245 pounds, so he has that size, but he is a freak athlete. He is a freak athlete with kind of a freaky build as well. Against IU, obviously,
kind of looks like a wide receiver.
Yeah, obviously a tough game against IU because you're playing the best team in college football. 2 receptions for 21 yards. Literally, if you would have told me 3 years ago that I was able to say that, it's just like I can't stop.
It's surreal.
It's legit insane.
Yep.
I mean, I grew up going to games. It's just bad.
Yeah, so did I. It was like, you can't go to a Colts game. I guess we'll go hang out at Bloomington for a little bit and watch a trashy team.
But again, against Penn State, which now we know they suck, 6 receptions for 50 yards. Against Oregon State, 4 receptions for 60 yards. And so when he gets the usage that he should, he has been very good this year. He still has 225 yards and 3 touchdowns so far in 6 games for the Oregon Ducks. But again, right now you're looking at the mock draft database, 17th overall in most. He goes around the middle of the first, and I definitely think there's going to be a team that takes a shot on him. And analytics be darned, if he gets that draft capital, I will be taking shots on a guy that's super athletic, that plays at a Power 5 school, a Power 2 school, I should say, and has continued to be productive. And when he really hasn't gotten the utilization, I still think he's been fairly efficient with his opportunities, and that's important as well. So he's not even the tight end one in the bakery. Eli Stowers and Max Clare actually grade out ahead of him, but I do think he's probably going to end up being the tight end one in this class. And there's a lot of guys that
someone
can
will take a shot on those traits.
No, I think so too. And so I'm willing to take a shot on those traits at the 111 in a rookie draft as well.
I will take an upside shot on one of the youngest high-end wide receiver prospects in this class, and that is Eric Singleton out of Auburn.
Yeah, that's nice.
He's kind of an elite earner type of wide receiver. He's very, very athletic. He's not necessarily huge. He's like 180 pounds, but he could, I mean, we're looking at him being one of the speedier wide receivers in this class. So if he goes to the combine, he tests out really, really well, you're going to be looking at one of the biggest risers. And that's without even talking about his production this year, where he's had some very, very productive games. He's not necessarily going to have like a 10 reception, 200-yard game, but he could have like 8-9 receptions for, like 80, 90 yards, because he's just that type of hybrid wide receiver that can line up in the slot. He can line up on the outside. He kind of does a lot of things in that situation in Auburn, and I do think that bodes really well for what he could offer for any NFL team if he is to find himself in the first round as well. So right now in the bakery, he is in that same tier currently as Carnell Tate, Jacoby Lane, Jeremy Bernard. He's on the bottom end of that tier. In terms of his wide receiver score, he is notably lower than all those other guys, but we're being very, very, very conservative with his draft capital. I mean, you give him second round draft capital, he is again in the green tier there with Denzel Boston. Give him first round draft capital, he is the highest graded wide receiver in that green tier in this class, and he's going to be right below Mekhi Lemon and Jordan Tyson. So time will tell with Singleton. He's more of a traitsy wide receiver that honestly could go back to school. That is very possible with NIL at this point in time, so we could end up not talking about Singleton all offseason. That's why I want to mention him now, because I do think he is a high upside, very talented wide receiver that has boom-bust potential.
All right, let's do a couple honorable mention picks here and go into the 204 at least. I'm going to take Darius Taylor from Minnesota here at the 201. With Taylor, the main red flag for me is that he's become a little bit less efficient this year, but part of that is because Minnesota's kind of mid. Sorry, Ryan. But, 55 carries this year for 205 yards, 3.7 yards per carry. The one huge glaring, hey, look at this for Darius Taylor is his receiving upside. Last year, 54 receptions for 350 yards, average 6.5 yards per catch. It's not a mark. We want to see that efficiency higher, typically with our NFL prospects. This year, he's hitting it. 12 receptions for 118 yards, 9.8 yards per reception. And so he's kind of passing the eye test in terms of receiving. As you can tell, the running back class this year is a little bit weak compared to a normal class, and definitely compared to last year's class. It's nowhere near. There's a ton of guys in this middle range here that you could talk about taking, though. Darius Taylor, Katron Allen, Nick Singleton, Justin Haynes, even Le'Veon Moss from Texas A&M. If you give him third-round draft capital, he jumps up. Actually, he doesn't. It would be second-round draft capital would take for him, but I like Le'Veon Moss. And so, realistically, I think you could take any of these guys here, but Darius Taylor, I think, has some of the best receiving skill set of these backs, and that's why I'm more comfortable taking a shot at him in the early second in this early mock.
Yeah, give me my IU honorable mention, Elijah Surratt. I think we could have easily taken him at the end of the first. The difference is, again, Surratt taking quite a big hit here because he's been at college for so long. I think this is his fourth or fifth year? I think his fifth year in college. He's transferred multiple times, late breakout because of that. So, not in a Power 5 conference for a bit. I will say, though, honestly, staying an extra year, Elijah Surratt staying an extra year in college, I think has ultimately boosted his draft stock quite a bit, and really has demonstrated this season more versatility than I ever thought he was capable of. We liked him a lot last year. He was the number one there, but he was kind of honestly a one-trick pony, and I think his versatility this season, being able to consistently command a ridiculous amount of target volume, line up on the slot, line up on the outside, thanks to Fernando. I think Fernando being a lot more versatile as a passer and able to extend plays a little bit more has really unlocked what Surratt's upside is in this offense, and I do think that could translate to the NFL. I mean, he's a guy where a lot of people have talked about him potentially sneaking into the first round of the NFL draft. I do think that's possible. Just don't expect his analytics to be anything super sexy, because he has been in college for a bit, and you have just that journey from like D2 to Big Ten football to a late breakout, etc. So don't expect anything super amazing there. But from a talent perspective, I mean, you're seeing comps to Jaden Higgins. You're seeing comps to what'd you say, Cortland Sutton. Yeah. I do think he has that build and that capability at the NFL level.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Dante Moore here at the 203, just to take the opportunity to tell you this. I didn't want to litter the first round of this mock draft with QBs, even though in this class
we did that last year.
5 or 6 QBs that could end up going in the first round, and some of them may be really good and some of them may not. It all depends on their draft capital. If all these guys get first round draft capital, this has potentially be a very strong QB class. But the fact of the matter is, with NIL and with how quickly quarterback markets change and which NFL teams need a quarterback, we just don't know. Dante Moore could easily be the #1 quarterback in this class. He could easily be as high as the 104, in my opinion, in this class as well. And so where we have Mendoza at the 107 and Sellers at the 110, and now Dante Moore at the 203. Switch these guys around any way you want to. Mm-hmm. Take John Mateer and put him in the first round. Take Dante Moore and put him in the first round.
Take Carson Beck.
Take Klubnik. Carson Beck is probably worth talking about. We don't know with the QBs. And so that's going to be the disclaimer here with quarterbacks. I didn't want to quarterback is, mainly figured out when you end the college football season going into the combine, you start to get a pretty good idea of who the top quarterbacks are in terms of how NFL teams look at them. That's the reason we have Mendoza in the first, because right now he's the consensus 101. Yeah. But outside of that, it could be any of these guys. It could be Dante Moore. It goes 101 realistically. And so with these quarterbacks, we just didn't want to try to make a prediction. It's going to be a stronger quarterback class, which is why this class doesn't suck from a Dynasty's perspective in Superflex leagues, because at the worst case scenario, we're going to get some pretty solid quarterbacks at the end of the first this year. And so wanted to take the opportunity to say that about Dante Moore. He's plenty talented. I think he could end up being the #1 fantasy quarterback in this class, depending on if he comes out, of course, and depending on what his landing spot is, etc.
Yeah, then I'll mention one more running back here, Justin Sainz out of Michigan. I've seen a little bit of him play in that situation. He looks pretty solid. Honestly, if you give him day 2 draft capital, again, he's going to find himself in this yellow tier with Darius Taylor, Katron Allen, Nick Singleton. The reason I didn't pick one of Nick Singleton or Katron Allen is because I didn't want to. I didn't want to guess at this point who's going to be the top guy there. Both of us suspect Katron Allen. We could be wrong. Katron Allen looks better this year than Nick Singleton does. But again, analytically, given the nod to Nick Singleton right now in the bakery, it just... time will tell with both of these guys. And honestly, Penn State looks so bad at this point. They just fired James Franklin that entire offensive situation could crash and burn, and that could really hurt the draft stock of both of these running backs. So with Justice Haynes, I do think that he is capable of kind of sustaining this and maintaining day 2 draft capital upside with his outlook. And if he tests well at the combine, he could be a riser as well. If you give him 2nd round draft capital, again, nothing is really going to change for him. So he's kind of solidified here in the yellow tier, which is a fine tier in terms of hit rates. It's nothing crazy. It's not going to blow you away. But there are plenty of good running backs in that range historically that have been very successful in the NFL.
So again, a couple of disclaimers. Number 1, we haven't had time to watch film on all these guys yet because it's the middle of the NFL season and we're absolutely freaking swamped trying to keep up with content on both channels. But I did want to mention this. This is early. It's not going to look like this. All these guys are going to move around. There are going to be guys that slide into the first that shouldn't. There are going to be guys that you wanted on this list that you're going to be mad at that could easily be on this list, and we're aware of them. But we just didn't have them in this particular mock. Again, this is very, very early, so take everything with a grain of salt, and also realize that we have a lot of homework to do on these players, even though we have been watching a fair amount of college football this year. Now, here's some guys that are honorable mention that could have easily been on this list that we think have the potential to go in the top 12 of Dynasty drafts. So don't get mad because they're on here. They're officially on here, and they could easily be first-round picks this year. Garrett Nussmeier, Cade Klubnik, John Mateer, and Carson Beck at quarterback. All guys, again, we don't know what the quarterback class is going to be. It's going to be wild. From the wide receiver position, a lot of people like Chris Brazzell from Tennessee. He doesn't have a great analytical profile, but obviously he is a very good wide receiver, so he could easily be a first-round pick in Dynasty. Casey Concepcion has had a good year, Chris Bell, and then Omar Cooper Jr. from Indiana as well. All 4 of those receivers, I think, are on our radar for guys who could end up being in the conversation for this class. At running back, Nick Singleton and Katron Allen. Nathan mentioned we didn't really put them on here because Penn State's a dumpster fire. And Le'Veon Moss. I still love Le'Veon Moss from Texas A&M. And then at tight end, there are 2, again, really other solid tight end prospects I think go in the 2nd or 3rd round of Dynasty drafts this year. Eli Stowers from Vanderbilt and Max Clare from the Ohio State University. And so, again, all of these guys are the guys on our radar right now. And any of them could slide into this mock draft anywhere, and I would be mostly cool with it. But I do think you're starting to see the top of these drafts be a little bit solidified at this point. So do us a huge favor. If you play Dynasty, make sure you drop a like on the video. Make sure you're subscribed as well, because we're going to have this rookie content building on itself as we get into rookie draft season. January through March on this channel is absolutely a blast. So join us, hit the subscribe button. And again, if you want to get your team looked at and get all of our exclusive rookie content that we're going to be coming out with, check out the link in the pinned comment. Sign up for the annual Motherflock tier with code DOMAIN. Nathan and I will take a look at your team, and we'll get you on our full team blueprint plan for you. But we appreciate you guys. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you here soon.